Hey MotoAmerica fans, this is Max Flinders. Make sure you go to MotoAmerica YouTube channel and subscribe, comment, like. If you see me, definitely put a thumbs up.
Tension is rising as we wait the start of the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. From Pittsburgh International Race Complex in Wampum, Pennsylvania, it's round 7 of the MotoAmerica Superbikes at Pittsburgh. As we prepare for Supersport, our 13th race of the season. Hello, everyone. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time champ Jason Pridmore. Now, Jason, in this season, Richie Escalante, the #1 plate, and Sean Dillon Kelly have been the standouts, but Sean Dillon Kelly is starting to pull away in this championship.
No question. And on Thursday, I was doing a track walk, and I had a chance to talk with SDK in length. He told me how much he learned last year, both on and off the track, and you've seen that with 9 race wins.
So the points gap is starting to blow out a little bit, and here's why. If we take a look at race 1 and 2 from Brainerd, Minnesota.
This is what the number 40's done all year. He's put the pressure on. He's led from the front. He's been winning these races both ways, from behind and from the front. At Brainerd, he held that race lead all the way through, and you saw the small margin that he had. On Sunday, Escalante came to race. SDK told me on Sundays he always expects Richie to be right there, and he was. Escalante would take the lead, pull out to like 2.5-second lead, and then throw it away. Give these points right back to SDK. SDK said when he saw those yellow flags, almost couldn't believe it. Now he's here with a 61-point lead.
It kind of looked like with SDK's win on Saturday and a possible win for Escalante, it would have been a wash in terms of points. But as you can see, the right part, the right column, it's 25 extra points for Sean Dillon Kelly, which takes it to 61. Pretty incredible. Well, with only 6 races remaining in the season and SDK leading this championship, we sent Jamie Howe to talk to him about his mindset moving forward.
Greg, through the first 12 races, Sean Dillon Kelly has amassed 9 wins, but it's been 6 in a row for you, Sean. When you think about the dominance you've had over the Supersport class this year, how has that helped you to manage the expectation of the championship at this point?
Yeah, no, it's been a great season so far. Of course, our goal coming into this 3rd season now for me in Supersport was to come out and win as many races as we can. So it's been good, definitely tough, you know, going again against Richie, who won the championship last year. But I learned a lot last season, and I just, my team and I had to bring that into this year, and clearly it's been working out. You know, we've been working really hard, and it's been clicking so far. So I feel like just need to keep in the same direction, but it's been clicking.
Well, Sean Dillon Kelly needs to maintain what they've been doing. Hannah Lopa, there's another rider who's really coming into his own.
Jamie, for Rocco Lander's last round, we saw him experience both the highs and lows of racing within the same weekend. A crash in race 1, but you made your way back to the podium on Sunday for race 2. How did that feel? Was that a bit of redemption for you?
No, there was no way to make up for the crash, because that was a guaranteed podium. I had for sure pace for that. But I mean, what are we gonna do? Can't do much except what we did on Sunday. A win would have been nice, but I'll take 2nd for now, and hopefully get better results this weekend.
3 rounds left. How do you think that that's going to play out for you? Can we expect to see you on the podium more? Do you think you'll be able to get your first win in this class?
Definitely more podiums. Hopefully a podium at least in every race. Maybe more, maybe a couple wins. That's the goal.
Best of luck out there.
Thank you.
Greg?
That's a young 3-time champ in MotoAmerica, and he has got to compete with the rest of this field and this pit race.
Yeah, let's look at the Yamaha track map, Greg. This is very much becoming a rider's favorite. You can see up over turn 1, very tricky tip-in point there. Turn 3 will be another spot where we're going to be seeing some passing. Up over a top of a hill into turn 6 into these S's, 7, 8, 9, 10, all flow together. Very important to have a bike that works well through all these turning and switchbacks. Turn 13 and 14 there, you're going to see those are that's a chicane, Greg, that they had to put in there. And then we got turn 17, 18 there at the end on the run back to the finish line.
With tons of rain over the last couple of weeks here in Wampum, Pennsylvania, rear traction. Grip on the rear end is a premium. This guy, Richie Escalante, looking for some redemption from race 2 at BIR. Can he get it done?
Well, you see the starting grid as we prepare. Robbie Floyd with Roger Hayden. We get our little time before the race, and we've got Supersport coming up first. The top qualifier, Sean Dillon Kelly. Man, look at that. The only rider in the 143s has over a half a second advantage, and just seeing what he was doing down there in the paddock and no concern really at all. That's very impressive.
Well, especially, I mean, with the points lead that he has a lot of wiggle room if something goes wrong. So there's no pressure on him. Got a couple race lead, and he's been solid all week. And not only has he been fast putting it on pole, but he's consistently doing the laps. We talk about that every week, just how he goes out there and doesn't do 1 or 2 fast laps. He usually does about 5, 6, and sometimes 7 or 8.
In MotoAmerica, since we started MotoAmerica back in 2015, he's third in the all-time wins list. Has 16. He's got 1 more than Richie Escalante, and boy, did they come in a flurry. I mean, already in 2021, 9 wins, but again, it was just 1 year ago, Richie Escalante with the, 13 races. This guy's looking for his first race win. That is Rocco Lander. He said, I don't think he was really happy with the third, but you and I both watch him, and he is getting faster. And Dad said he's gone away from some of the things that everybody's been telling him, but some of the things the rider has control of. And you're noticing, and in talking with me, some of the things that some of these young guys are still taking some of those Junior Cup-style lines.
Yeah, a lot of the guys that moved up from Junior Cup that you can see getting a lot faster on the 600s is they're starting to figure out you have to use the power. You know, you can't just use a ton of mid-corner speed and, be too wide and then kill your drive in the next corner. You got to really make those straightaways as long as possible each corner. So it takes a while to change that riding style, and I think one reason why Sam Lockoff is doing so well is he's got a coach that is telling him and following him and taking videos and going riding super motard. I know that's one thing that when I seen Sam Lockoff this offseason riding super motard, that was one of his things that he was focusing on most, was trying to fix some of those lines. And you see a lot of the other guys still kind of using those swooping lines.
Well, there's also Stefano Mesa, who's been around for quite a while, been riding the 1,000. He has to go the other direction, right, because he got all that power of the 1,000. 600's a little bit different. So I think you're right. It's a good stepping stone to maybe move up into the Superbike for some of these young guys like Sam Lockoff and Rocco Landers and Dominic Doyle. But you've got maybe Stefano Mesa, who's the only rider other than Escalante and Sean Dillon Kelly to win this year. Mesa's kind of got to go the other direction. It's different getting off of a 1,000 and hop on the 600.
It's a lot different because on the 1,000, things are going to come up a lot quicker. Your brake markers are going to be a lot different. You're going to probably use different gears in some corners, and you don't get a couple laps to sort it out.
Right.
You jump on one, the next time you're out is the race. So you got to mentally get that figured out pretty quick on the warm-up lap, and so when the race comes, you don't have time to sort that out. You got to get going right away.
One of the guys to look for also on that front row, Benjamin Smith, the 88 Yamaha. Can he get it on the podium once again? Remember that third place back at VIR? Backed it up at Road America, but as of late, he's been having some mechanical difficulties, or he did back at Brainerd, but I think he could be one that he moves up there in qualifying, puts himself in that front row. Will he see him back on the podium, Raj?
We've seen him on the podium a couple times, so hopefully today he gets a good start and goes with the boys.
Let's send it over to Jason Gregg next door. Let's get ready for racing Supersport.
Today's Supersport coverage is sponsored by Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
You should know that if you know Pittsburgh. Bill Mazeroski statue outside of PNC Park, the home of the Pittsburgh Pirates, commemorating the famous home runs in Pirates history. 1960 World Series. Jason, I think you were like 7 years old.
Yeah.
Something like that. Meanwhile, there was a go-kart track here at Pit Race, and a couple of our MotoAmerica Live Plus commentators got involved. Robbie Floyd, Michael Hill, and there was little shenanigans going on, Jay.
It looks like it was going to be a grudge match between those two, and then this guy showed up all of a sudden, like a little mystery driver.
Oh, I don't know about that. I used to see a New England Patriots sweatshirt. That's what I like to see. There's Sam Lockoff doing his normal job at speed. The 44 Lockoff. Jay, this season hasn't seemed very long, but looking at Lockoff and what he's been able to do this season, it's only his rookie year, as it is Rocco Landers. But here's Sean Dillon Kelly with a 1:43.5 on pole.
And then we got Escalante and Smith, Rocco, Mesa, and then, as you say, Sam Lockoff there in second. I expect that Sam's going to jump on the back of these this front row here. Doyle. Then a great qualifying from Liam Grant, Nate Minster, Carl Soltis, Alex Thermiotis, and CJ LaRoche going to be outside of row number 4. Then you have Almeida, Austin Miller, and Petrati. Inkoski, Nassani, and Zaragoza are going to be starting back there in row number 6. And then we have Nick Pennude and Salazar.
And Jay, the story has been this weekend here at Pit Race, a lack of rear grip. You heard me talk about it earlier, and it really continues to be the story. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that there's been storms in the area the last couple of weeks here in the Pittsburgh area. It's just been cleaning off the track every single night. So from here on for this race weekend, it looks like the weather's going to be spectacular. So the anticipation is, looking at Supersport and the rest of the classes, race 1 speed versus race 2 speed tomorrow might be dramatically different. That also might close the gap that we've seen in qualifying when we actually get to this race in terms of the speed. Beautiful day,
perfect.
Some broken clouds, and temperature is spectacular.
Yeah, going to have a lot of heat in the track. It's not overly really hot outside, but the sun's definitely beating down on it to get us some heat in the track. And then we're going to get some more rubber down on the track. It's our first race of the weekend getting ready to start, so it'll only get better from here.
16 laps for Supersport. There's the number 40, M4 Star Suzuki, Sean Dillon Kelly, looking for a hole shot. When the red lights go off, we're racing. Here we go. A good launch from Richie Escalante. It looks like he's gone toe-to-toe with Sean Dillon Kelly, but they just start storming away from the rest of the field. Now it's all about confidence on these first laps with the traction you have available.
Lockoff gets himself slotted into 4th behind Ben Smith, who also came from the 2nd row. So we're going to see now, are these two guys going to just start jettisoning away? Escalante's taking an early shot, and you can see Lockoff going up underneath Benjamin Smith into turn 3 on this opening lap, down through turn 4. Looks like the field's going to make it through there safely. And then a big steep downhill. You can really tell on TV how steep that is as they get down into this turn 5-6 area, Greg, and then back up over the top of this rise into this S section. The 2 leaders are just starting to gap 3rd place.
Well, you can see Escalante's Kawasaki coming over the crest of that hill. Got a little bit of a head shake on that one. So Sean Dillon Kelly, a couple corners ago, Jay, being very aggressive on the opening lap, sent his Suzuki the rear end of it a little bit sideways. We don't see that a lot from the number 40 this season.
No, he's been very much bike in line, just putting these laps together. And right now what he's going to do, he's just going to race the racetrack. And that's kind of what he has started doing this year. Benjamin Smith goes up underneath Lockoff in a very difficult technical area of the track. And you can see Mesa and Rocco Landers just there in tow. Rocco pretty quick yesterday. Somebody who we heard on our pre-show talking about trying to get up on the podium. Right now he's just got a little bit of work to do with those 3 guys in front of him.
So it's Sean Dillon Kelly, M4X Star Suzuki, just ahead of Richie Escalante, Honos HVMC Racing, Kawasaki ZX6R. Behind them, Benjamin Smith on the Northeast Cycle Outlet Racing Yamaha R6. Out of Glenmore, Pennsylvania, made that pass for 3rd. But that battle behind these two starting to shape up. As we have in this early part of the races, a lot of these Supersport riders, Lockoff going up the inside, aggressive.
Oh, and almost opened the door for Mesa to try to sneak up there also. So now you got to look and see if Rocco has a run on Mesa. He doesn't. So that kind of almost looked like it shook Stefano up a little bit, because he was going to try to sneak up underneath Benjamin Smith and had to get out of the gas to do that. These two guys, meanwhile, they opened up over 1.5 seconds on that opening lap, but this is where the battling is happening right now.
Hannah, what's going on with Sam Lockoff?
Yeah, I talked to him earlier, and he said he was really struggling to get the bike to stop, making it really difficult to turn. Other than that, he felt good on the track overall. Before the race, he said they may change the whole brake system, and I checked in with the team. They changed the master cylinder, and it seems to be making all the difference for him. He was frustrated with how he was performing earlier. He said he feels like it's a weekend he'll just have to kind of fight through, but he has the mental fortitude to make it happen and do his best, and it's really paying off for him right now in this battle.
It certainly is, as he's leading the battle for 3rd place, about 2.5 seconds behind these two. A 46.5, the fastest lap of the race so far by Richie Escalante on the first lap. We'll get a better idea this next time by the stripe as to what times they're capable of doing. The battle for 3rd, 44 is Lockoff, M4X Star Suzuki. 88 is Benjamin Smith. And then you have Mesa on the 37 and Rocco Landers on the 97, also in that battle.
Yeah, and these guys now, we're going to see these times drop probably right down into the 44s, maybe even into the 3s on these opening laps while these tires are good. 44.1, 44.2 for the 2 leaders. Speaking to Escalante about an hour ago, he definitely seemed like he had a little bit more confidence than he did yesterday. Obviously, he missed yesterday's first session with a technical issue. Didn't get very many laps. Had that second session yesterday. But when you give a guy like Sean Dillon Kelly, 45 minutes of free track time while you're in the pits, it's sometimes can play mental games on you. But this team's been here before. They had a really good run last year, did the Honos team. But they're dealing with a little bit different guy this year in Sean Dillon Kelly. I had a talk with him on Thursday. And he said he learned a lot last year, Greg, just on and off the track both. And it's just increased his focus. And he's just literally gets with his team. They have a plan each weekend, and that's what they try to do. They don't think way ahead or what could be. He just goes out there and works on his setup for the weekend. And that's allowed him to do what he's done here, just continuing to put that pressure on. And he doesn't mind leading at the front like this.
Yeah, Sean Dillon Kelly, his crew chief, Jeremy Toy, I spoke with him just moments before this race, and he told me that as every rider talks about rear grip here at pit race this weekend and the lack of it, that they think they've solved the problem and solved it in a way that's going to allow him to continue getting maximum rear grip out of his Suzuki till the end of the race. So it's showing right now, but really the thing is Richie Escalante. When I said, look, Escalante, he's, he qualified second, but he's a half a second off, and what do you think? And he's like, look, Escalante's a racer. He shows up on Sunday as a metaphor and says Escalante figures it out when the light goes off all the way to the checkered flag, and that's what you're seeing. Although Sean Dillon Kelly's starting to eke out a couple of bike lengths on Escalante, left part of your screen is the communication that crews have with the riders. No onboard communication if you're new to MotoAmerica racing. That's the way you get it done. And each time on that pit board, that's the information that the rider and the crew talk about. So he's in position number 2, and he's got 2 seconds over position 3.
The other thing I brought up to Sean Dillon Kelly was the fact that even though these two have a pretty big rivalry and they're always locked in horns together, they're so respectful to each other. And he says, it's funny. He goes, sometimes I feel like we're too respectful to each other. Like we give each other so much room, but it makes the racing really good, and it doesn't make it to where anybody's like running into each other too much. And we know in racing that can happen, and especially when you're locking horns, like I say, Greg, each and every weekend with the same guy. The racing's always been pretty respectful and tight, and they're going faster than they were even years past we've seen. So that's the big thing. They've stepped each other's games up.
The immense pressure that Sean Dillon Kelly is under at the moment from Richie Escalante. And Sean Dillon Kelly handling it with a 1:43.8 last time by the stripe. This battle for third. Looks like we're starting to lose Rocco Landers ever so slightly off the back of this battle.
Just a little bit, huh? These 3 guys are all locked in together pretty tightly. And just looking at the last lap time through, 45.1 for Rocco. The other guys were kind of like high 44s. So that's where that gap came from. I expect it could have just been a small mistake the last lap, and then maybe we see Rocco try to sneak back up on these guys towards the latter half of this lap, Greg.
Through the MotoAmerica chicane they go with Sam Lockoff in third and Benjamin Smith in 4th place, Jamie.
And Ben started this race third on that front row, and he said, Richie Escalante, Sean Dillon Kelly, they're really in a league of their own. We're going to find out within a couple of laps how closely we can stay to them as a 3-pack group, and right now the gap is at over 4 seconds, so they weren't able to stay with them long, but he felt like in order to get onto the podium and be in position for a podium, it was all going to come down to tire wear, and that was something that he and his team really worked on through the practice and qualifying sessions, and they did start the race on the same tire setup as Stefano Mesa and Rocco Landers. They both have, all 3 of them have an extra soft on the front, a soft on the rear. The only one who doesn't is the race leader, Sean Dillon Kelly. He went with the super soft tire on the front of the bike. So a little bit of tire game, but he feels like getting to the end of this race is going to be about managing those Dunlops.
Yeah, and we could see the battle for third. It wasn't really a rough-up affair. Normally we see battles that'll slow the group down.
Right.
But there's only been a couple passes in this group, so they've really done the right thing by trying not to rough each other up and go as quick as they possibly can to not let those 2 out front get away. But it is what it is when you have Sean Dillon Kelly and Richie Escalante on another planet this last half of the season.
On our screens here in the booth, obviously we can look at the times, and Greg, it's about almost a half a second for the first guys there in sector number 1. Sector number 2 and 3 actually looked pretty close the last lap they went through. So I'm looking on the screen, they're coming into sector 2 right now. They'll pop up on our screen. And last lap through, Lockoff and Benjamin Smith and Mesa, they were all pretty close. Nope, this lap here, it's pretty close, but it's another 3/10. So already that's 8/10 on this lap between the lead twosome there that you saw disappearing out of our screen. And you can see now Rocco has managed to gain that time back and get himself on the back of this. And there's a little tiny mistake as he runs a bit wide, so that gap increases again. But Rocco did get back on the back of these guys, and he'll be able to race with these three all the way to the finish.
All right, and we're just starting a lap on this. They're just going through turn number 2 now, Jason. Let's take a look at where Sean Dillon Kelly has got an advantage over Escalante, because the last time we saw these two a lap and a half ago, Escalante was right on the tailpipe of SDK, but now there's a couple bike lengths between the two of them.
Yeah, that little bit of backing in you see from SDK's bike, there's about as much out of line as you will see it. And what the reason for that is you're coming back uphill. So you're putting the bike under a lot of stress on the front end of the bike as you brake hard going uphill, and then it crests up over the top and you're starting to tip in. That's why you see that bike start to just back in a little bit. Now, the biggest difference between these two bikes, as you can see there, no backing in at all. Bike doesn't even move for SDK coming down that little hill. Escalante's bike always just seems to move around a little bit more, where SDK's bike just looks so solid underneath him. And you can really tell, like even in this next left that they're going to be going through, there, very precise where they need to be, but it just looks a little bit easier for SDK than it looks for Escalante to run these times at the moment.
Yeah, and again, we saw that head shake about half a lap ago coming over that large hill. Doesn't really bother him that much, but any movement, the bike's going to upset it. Look how close he is. He's going to go for it in the chicane. No.
Richie's really good in turn 14, the right-hander that you can't see in there, Greg, and you can't see the apex of it at all. And he's really good up over the top of the hill, which then leads itself into that fast kink 15 into the chicane, which is a very sketchy place to try to pass. That chicane gets very narrow down there. So he's got to have to set something up really early if he thinks he's going to do something with the number 40 down in that area. Again, you're going to see these guys come up over turn 1. You see how Escalante's bike's backing in just a little bit more than that of SDK. They're going to go up over the top of this rise too. Suzuki just soaks that thing up nice and easy as he goes up over the top. That's going to be flat out going to 4th gear. And they're going to go back down through the gearbox again for this turn.
44.4 for SDK, 44.3 for Richie Escalante. The fastest lap of the race, a 1:43.860 for Sean Dillon Kelly, and that was just about 34 thousandths quicker than Escalante's gone. What's going on? What's going on, Hannah?
Well, you guys mentioned how comfortable SDK looks on his motorcycle in comparison to Richie, and I talked to Richie earlier. He said this is the first time all season he feels that the bike hasn't really been 100% up to how he likes it, despite the fact that he feels fantastic. Yesterday they had a problem with the gearbox in P1, and he feels like he's playing catch up after he lost so many laps. They did change gearing and geometry for this morning and for the race. You know, they were going off of last year's settings as their base setup, and they were great last year, but they aren't working it as well as this weekend because, as you mentioned earlier in the race, Sean and Richie are just pushing each other, and that pace keeps getting faster and faster, and it doesn't quite translate the way that it worked last year.
Yeah, oftentimes what we see, Jason, if we haven't been here in a year, putting last year's settings in don't always help because there's been a year of development of both rider and crew and motorcycle, and so sometimes that is not the optimal setting. It's a good place to start in the first practice session, but if you lose time, you tend to struggle. You
have a base, a little bit of a base, and if you remember last year, Escalante was extremely fast here, and so going back to that base, Greg, isn't going to be such a big deal if you didn't have somebody going so fast as Sean Dillon Kelly is. So losing that time, and we've seen that a couple times the last couple of weekends for the Honos team. They've been working really hard to try to keep Richie up at the front at the sharp end of this thing and making his bike easier. And this last lap through here, SDK got a little bit deep into turn 3, ran a little bit wide, and it kind of gave Escalante a little bit more, got him a lot closer down in this section. That time SDK absolutely clean turn 3 and 4, and you can see just that little bit of a gap. And these bikes aren't moving around too much as they crest up over the top of the hill. Both bikes look really solid going up that big steep hill out of turn number 5.
Yeah, and that was a big complaint for a lot of riders yesterday, was getting down to the bottom of the 5 through 6. The bike would dig down in deep, get some grip, but as it started to climb that hill towards the S's, it would just, the tire would kind of sit on top of the asphalt and start to spin, and that's where the extra rubber, and Jason, as the sun is out, the extra heat in the track as well, playing favorites for these Dunlop tires.
Well, one of the things you mentioned earlier is that, you know, all the teams across the board in just about every class. Look how good Escalante is through there, Greg. See how he straight lines that real quick up over the top of 14. But getting back to what I was saying, a lot of teams in the paddock talk to me about just going softer. You know, spring rates in the rear. They're just trying to get that bike. Once it starts to squat a little bit, that once they start to accelerate, guys need that little bit extra bite. I've heard some teams playing with tire pressures and things like that as well. So everybody's looking for the same thing. They're all looking for that little bit of extra edge grip under acceleration right when the throttle opens, especially in those S's that we'll see these guys go through in a minute. That's where a lot of teams are talking about the bikes just not quite having the grip that they normally would have.
Back to the battle for third, and Benjamin Smith has gotten around Sam Lockoff for third.
Yep, and he's protected that line a little bit going into one. You can see Mesa getting the thing backed in just a little bit. Rocco's right a part of this now too. Mesa overslows just a little bit for turn one there because he got in there a little bit narrower. Lockoff has a quick look over his shoulder. Rocco Landers is trying to look up underneath Mesa, but not quite close enough. But Lockoff is able to go back up underneath Benjamin Smith as they go into there.
And as Rocco Landers starts to get a little race here with 8 laps remaining to his dad Stoney, and he said, you know, Rocco typically is better as we get to the end of the race than he is at the beginning. He just feels more comfortable. And after that second qualifying session just about an hour and a half ago, he told Stoney, he said, don't change anything on the bike. So the whole team took that as a pretty good indicator that Rocco is happy with what they were able to land on through practice and qualifying, and they're looking forward to the ending stages here.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that when a rider comes in and just says, look, don't change anything, they're putting the emphasis on themselves at that point to go out and try to find some stuff. And you can see, Greg, that's just going to be, he had a little bit extra speed there, didn't he?
He did.
And he checked up, but it didn't hurt him at all. And now Rocco's just, he's waiting to try to figure out a way through these guys and expect him to start to do something here soon. We got 7.5 laps left. Rocco did look like he had a little bit of pace there. Loses a little bit of time in 14. That's not going to be a big deal. He can ramp himself back up here and get on the back of Mesa coming onto that front straightaway and then maybe do something down in that turn one area.
It looked like Rocco in 14 had turned in a little too early because I saw him having to pick his knee up, but he makes it up coming in and out of the chicane.
Really fast through there, wasn't he?
Yeah, so Rocco Landers, we've seen him have a couple of miscues, but again, his rookie season in Supersport, as is Sam Lockoff. We look at those two, and they're doing a great job as this battle for third continues to rage. And it looks like Lockoff has got the pace. He was eyeing up Benjamin Smith. He had to look around him to make sure that no one was going to attack him. So now Lockoff feels he's got pace and can try to pull away. By the way, this battle's going on 11.8 seconds now behind Sean Dillon Kelly and Richie Escalante's.
Rocco tried again. He's really trying to size up that pass up into the turn 3 area on Mesa. And yeah, Lockoff has taken back, as we've seen him do that a lap ago. He got that spot back from Ben Smith. These guys are consistently running right now, Greg, in the 46.2, 46.6s. The guys up front are still in the low 44s. So, and you can see the spots where Rocco loses a little bit of time, and Stoney's going to be cagey to that. Ask Rocco some questions after the race about what can we do to the bike to make it better here or there. He's really good through these S's. This is where he was so good on the Junior Cup bikes, carrying a lot of corner and roll speed through these little areas, and he closes right back on the back of Mesa here.
Jason, you've been around this track many times, done some laps around here. Is it a matter of vision sometimes for Rocco Landers, being that he's the 4th rider in this group, trying to find your marks?
It definitely can be, you know. And another thing, too, that's going to be working in his favor is he's raced against all of these guys. So there'll be a trust there that he'll be able to put into them. But he definitely, when you're back there in that 4th spot, and there are some places here at Pittsburgh, 3 that I can think of, where you're literally, you can't see going through the next turn. So 14 is going to be one of them. Turn 1's another one of them. You can't see the corners, but you got to commit to them early. And so sometimes it can be a little bit hard being that 4th guy back there and seeing that. So, you know, that's where we've seen him lose a little bit of time. We see him losing a little bit of time too up out of the turn 5-6 area as well. So a lot of the places where he's losing a little bit of time, Greg, are where there's some pretty big dips or valleys. Now look, he's got a really nice run out of turn 1. Let's see if he can try to do something with Mesa, who wheelies up over the top of the hill. That might open the door for Rocco.
97 Rocco Landers, and that Landers Racing Tyrant Design Yamaha Yamalube makes the move. So he gets around the 37 of Mesa. So great job. Stefano Mesa was a late entry into this weekend. Wasn't on the list, but it's great to see Mesa racing it up. of Sean Dillon Kelly and Richie Escalante. Mesa, the only other winner in Supersport this season. So Rocco Landers now works his way up to 5th place. This is the battle for 3rd. You're looking at Sam Lockoff, M4XR Suzuki. Benjamin Smith on the 88 on that Northeast Cycle Outlet Racing Yamaha R6. So we have a nice battle going on for this, as Sean Dillon Kelly and Richie Escalante up front are still racing it up.
That's a big pass there.
Rocco has got some confidence in the front end. Is Smith going to? Nope, he gets it right back. So good job by Benjamin Smith. Not going to take that from Rocco. Rocco's got to.
I like seeing that from Rocco, though. He's so good through those S's. He just carries all that rolling momentum through there, Greg, and he was able to get up underneath Benjamin Smith in a very hard spot to pass turn 11. But Benjamin Smith was able to turn it back up underneath him and get him on the brakes going into 12. So now Benjamin knows he's got a little bit of stuff coming from behind. You can see this. Benjamin just opens up 11 just a little, and Rocco Landers sneaks up underneath there, but it's going to run just a tiny bit wide. It allows Benjamin to turn it back up underneath and do something when they get to 12.
Yeah, but I like the warning to Ben Smith that Rocco's coming. So that's going to start changing the mindset of Benjamin Smith and what he's doing. He may be looking in front of him. Now he's got to start looking behind him, and that's exactly what Rocco Landers wanted to do. Get into Benjamin Smith's head. Smith with a mistake and a gap. Back up front we go, and it is still Richie Escalante haunting Sean Dillon Kelly, as SDK has just proven time and time again the maturation and the pressure that he's under from Escalante this season, and how he's been able to handle it is incredible.
Yeah, he's done this is where he's just got a lot more mentally tough. He's just thinking about what's up ahead of him, what he's got to try to do to control this race, and that's what he's done. He's got about 4.5 laps to go in this race, Greg, and SDK is going to continue to do what he's going to do, and Escalante is going to have to figure out a way through. Hannah, what do you got?
Jason, as Greg mentioned, you know, the maturation of Sean Dillon Kelly, obviously his demeanor is so much more relaxed this year, and that comes with experience, and that comes with being another year older. But we talked about the difficulty and the pressure that he was under last season, and it gave him kind of a change in perspective for this season. He used that momentum from winning those the last round last year as motivation for this season. After those hard days, he kind of knew what to expect as far as worst case scenario, and it left no room for fear of the unknown. So this season he's enjoying himself a lot more. As far as the bike goes, you know, aside from looking for more rear grip, the chassis felt really balanced, and he's having a lot of fun out there, and it shows.
Well, it does, and you know, right now he's going to have a big dose of #1 here pretty shortly. As Escalante, it just looks like he's just ramping up, doesn't he? It looks like he's kind of found some spots, thought about some places. Let's see how he gets up over the top of this hill. And he's trying to get a little bit of a draft so he can try to slingshot by, but not quite close enough again. But Escalante now looks like he really is trying to figure out where he's going to make this move, Greg.
I also think he's trying to put a little bit extra pressure on Sean Dillon Kelly in different spots to see if he's going to crack or not, because how difficult is it going to be for Escalante to make a pass for the lead? And Jay, the other question is, when do you do it? Do you want to do it this early? I mean, if you think you have pace and you can get away, sure. But really, do you want to show your cards this early or wait till the last lap?
Well, to be truthful, I'm starting to think about, you know, even in my discussion with Sean on Thursday, we talked about even the championship, and he hasn't even mentioned it. He doesn't even talk about it. He just wants to get on with things. But he told me, he's like, Jason, you know, I was really willing to take second place in that race on Sunday at Brainerd. Richie came to race. He had a little bit more than me, and I had a couple moments. And you can see he had one there, just a little bit of a moment, gave Escalante a little hope to think about going underneath him. But this is where even what you're talking about with the maturity of Sean Dillon Kelly, that he was actually willing to go, okay, I'm going to take second. And I think that if Escalante makes a big pass on him, as you can see, he's extremely close again, SDK is going to be very calculated in where he's going to try. Look how fast he is through the chicane. He's going to be very calculated, Greg, on where he will try to pass Escalante back, because he realizes that he's got a nice little points gap as we get close to the end of our season. Yeah,
it's the old risk-reward thing you got to figure out in your head on board this motorcycle, even at 140, 150 mile per hour. Side by side, coming up over the hill. It looked like Escalante again was trying to make a move. Jay, but that's so blind up there. Is that?
Here we go again. Like, and you're right, Greg. It is very blind. They go right past us, don't they? Like where Greg and I are sitting, we can see the front straightaway, and it's close now as they go up into turn 3. He's just not quite there. But we can see them go by our window, and there's been a couple times where I've looked out there, and it looks like Escalante wants to make that pass, but turn 1 is blind. You can't see it. If you get in there a little bit, if you get in there a little bit tighter, it runs the risk of running you out a little bit wide, and that grass comes up awful quickly. If you sit down there in the turn 1, we have so many fans up on the hill down there. I'm sure they've seen a lot of riders run off the track on the exit of turn 1. That's because it's such a tricky corner. So again, Escalante piling on the pressure with 3 to go. I think, Greg, it's going to have to happen maybe before the chicane, which is going to be a very hard place to do it. It's going to have to happen maybe in turn 1, up over the top of the hill, or 3. All these little areas here, STK looks pretty solid through.
19-year-old Sean Dillon Kelly on that M4X Star Suzuki, your championship points leader. Trying to snatch that number 1 plate away from the 26-year-old Richie Escalante. On that.
Here you go. This is the run down to the chicane. Is he going to stay?
There he goes. There's a pass for the lead. So Escalante, with 3.5 laps to go, feeling like he's got some pace. Is he going to make the chicane? Boy, for a moment there, it looked like he might blow the chicane, but he got it done. So now Escalante trying to set sail, and you'll watch the motorcycle now start to go sideways.
Oh, he runs wide a little bit. STK is not going to be able to do much with him there other than maybe get a better drive, get in that draft if he can, and the 40 might be able to sneak down up underneath as they go down into turn 1 as we've got 2 laps to go in this race.
And lap traffic coming up.
Look at that, Greg. He did exactly what we figured he might do, and that was a mistake by Escalante in the last corner that allowed STK that opportunity to get up alongside and make a nice, smart, clean pass into turn 1.
And just like you like it with 2 laps to go, the fight is on in Supersport. Sean Dillon Kelly with a healthy lead in this championship, but it's about winning this race. So all of a sudden the urgency for the number 40 with Richie Escalante, who tried it. He got a successful pass made. He got a couple bike lengths, big mistake. And now we're getting to a lap and a half. Escalante's got to come up with a new plan.
And the thing is that once you've shown your cards there, I'm sure STK is going to say something about that when they get to that section again. He already knows now, okay, Richie might be a little bit better through 14, and you can see this. This has been throughout the course of the race. Escalante just carries a little bit more speed. He opens up that turn on the exit and is able to sneak up underneath STK through one of the fastest sections of our track. But the mistake in the last corner allowed STK to get up underneath him, and you can see Derek Gregg, he's gone back up underneath him as they go through turn 12.
So Richie Escalante back to the lead. And a very nice pass. Now Escalante trying to be mistake-free. Trying to make sure that Kawasaki not going sideways into the chicane. Last time by when he was leading, this area wasn't so tighty. Escalante gets it down to the apex.
That's a lot cleaner.
A lot cleaner.
So now it's going to be, you see that gap. That's all it is now. That gap now will make it a little bit harder as they get the white flag this lap for STK to go up underneath him as they go down into turn number 1. So he's going to have to start thinking now. He hasn't followed Richie for any laps. So Richie's in there a little bit deep though, Greg. See how it ran wide? STK is going to probably be able to get in a little bit of the draft as he wheelies up over the top of that hill. He's trying. Escalante blocks a little bit going up that straightaway and takes a very narrow entrance into 3 to slow the bike down, but gets in there a little bit deep.
Yeah, it's not looking tighty for Richie Escalante. Now he's allowed Sean Dillon Kelly to get right on the back of him, but Escalante trying to drive up the hill and get the most out of that Dunlop tire.
Yeah, Escalante doesn't care about tighty right now. He's just doing everything he can to keep the 40 behind him. Now they get into the S's. This is one of the sections where I thought that STK might be able to get back by, but he's not quite close enough. Now he's going to roll through here, maybe out of this next right if he can roll up on him. Not quite close enough.
It just feels like it's going to be somewhere around this last quarter. Oh, STK got in there a little tight.
Yep, just on that curbing. And this is the area where we saw Escalante get by STK the last lap through. Now they're going to go up this hill, and this is the spot where we've seen Richie just a little bit better through this turn 14 area. As he kind of pulls away, now they got this fast kink into the chicane. STK doesn't quite look close enough to do anything down into the chicane.
Escalante on the binders. He gets it done. Now we're into that final couple corners. And he's going to the apex. He hauls it as Escalante, giving SDK no opportunity. Now it's all about the transition back onto the front straightaway. Horsepower versus horsepower. And Jay, it looks like Richie Escalante is going to get it done. Head down behind the bubble and takes the checkered flag. And Escalante with a 1/10 of a second win over Sean Dillon Kelly. What a race. And how about the battle for third? It's Rocco Landers in third spot, and he has broken away from Benjamin Smith. And Landers talked about it before the race. He'll come down the front straightaway, take the checkered flag, and find himself on the final spot of the podium. Benjamin Smith, Sam Lockoff holding off Stefano Mesa at the last moment to hold on for 5th place.
And that was a pass done on the last lap. I saw Lockoff go past Mesa, so that was a pass for him. It's going to be a big relief for this guy. That Hanos crew has worked so hard the last 2 weekends at Brainerd. We saw them swapping motors, and unfortunately Richie tipping off. So it's a big win for the defending champion. You can look there, Greg. You can see the race pace. The race was majority ran in the minute 44 range. And
So,
the last lap even gets into the 44s.
Richie Escalante. It's been since early June where he's had a victory. He's only had 2 this season after a dominating season last year. And Sean Dillon Kelly, another podium finish. Incredible race. Can't wait to hear what Richie Escalante says about that one when we return to Pit Race.
What a run here in the MotoAmerica Superbikes at Pittsburgh. Robbie Floyd and Roger Hayden with you. Our little discussion there after we saw that. What a run by Richie Escalante. He fought. You thought he was just trying to grab on for the longest time. He did just that. Got towards the end, and then he pounced.
He did. He looked really strong there toward the end of the race. Looks like he had a little bit more pace, and he set up his pass as well. Made some good passes. Sean Dillon Kelly came back every single time, but these two guys, this is what they do. They go back and forth like that, and that last lap, it looked like Escalante was making a couple mistakes trying to make the break. But,
no doubt.
His last lap was a 44.2. It's only 4/10 off their best lap of the race. So Escalante played that well, took his shots where he was strongest and held off.
Richie Escalante taking his 3rd victory of the year. It sounds crazy. It'll be his 10th podium on the season, but coming off of 6 in a row by Sean Dillon Kelly. I mean, He was tired of seconds. I mean, and it just kept going back to back to back. And Landers, of course, after Escalante went down at the last round, he finally proved that he can beat him heads up. Sean still battled and fought. You talk about a great pass. We saw several good passes in there. We saw an awesome pass by Ben Smith. We saw the same thing out of Rocco Landers, Escalante, Sean Dillon Kelly. All these guys were fighting hard to the end, and everybody stayed upright.
Yeah, and Rocco Landers, great ride by him. Came out on top of that battle with all the guys from 3rd to 6th, and he really started. Looks like he was getting so much more comfortable on that bike, getting more aggressive.
Yeah,
being able to make some passes in some tight spots that we haven't seen all year. So that was a great ride by Rocco, and you can just tell what it meant to Richie Escalante. He doesn't show a ton of emotion usually, and you could just tell after the race how excited he was to finally come out on that top end again.
Well, after losing the practice time with the transmission issues and coming back, and it seemed like they found something in that. When I was down there for that qualifier, and even though Sean would go ahead and post the fastest time, you could see that they felt like they were in it. Up until that point, I don't know that they knew that they were in it. And you could just see them smile. Even though they were in second, they were high-fiving, hugging, and everything else because they knew that they had a bike and a rider that could compete with Sean Dillon Kelly. And they did better than just compete. They won that race.
And that's just why it's so important to be on a good team, good crew, have good people around you. When things happen on the first day, y'all can rebound, work together and come out. And you're right, this morning during that second qualifier, he looked like he had things under control. They weren't too stressed. He kind of chipped away at it, and even when we were watching it, we thought that he was consistently doing some really good laps.
Strong ride by the Kawasaki pilot. The Yamaha So we have a Suzuki, a Kawasaki, and Yamaha all up there on the podium, but Rocco Landers and their team, Stoney, kind of going a little unconventional from the things that everybody was telling him this is the way that the bike should be set up, and they found it. I mean, whether it be gearing changes, suspension changes, tire pressure, they got it better as the day went on.
And the thing for Rocco now, for him to work on, is that gap to the top 2 guys. He's getting on the podium now, so now he needs to get the gap down.
We're seeing that smile on his face. Send him back over to the guys next door in our podium.
Today's Supersport coverage has been sponsored by Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on your car or motorcycle insurance. And by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Welcome back. Here's a couple passes for the lead and how this whole thing happened with Richie Escalante taking that victory. It was back and forth at the end.
Yeah, at MotoAmerica earlier this year, we saw 35 passes for the lead, and there wasn't that many here. It was a lot of sizing up from Richie Escalante to look and see what Sean Dillon Kelly was doing, and he made a couple passes and made a mistake, but he was able to get it done at the end of the day and get a win for the #1 and that Honus team.
All right, let's get right down to Hannah with our winner, Richie Escalante.
Richie Escalante back on the top step of the podium here this weekend. Richie putting the pressure on Sean Dillon Kelly all race long. How were you able to kind of balance patience with the aggression and the confidence to get around him and make it stick for this victory?
Yes, for sure, a difficult weekend yesterday. I started step by step to working better in the bike, feel better. So the race, very difficult. Sean riding very well. System, no mistakes. So I just waiting, learning a little bit. So when I say the last 5 laps, I say, okay, I need to try or finish second again. So very happy. Very difficult, just close the door. Like normally I don't close the door, so this time I close the door. So yeah, for sure, thanks to Honor Racing to trust me, to support me. Hudson Valley, Motorsports, is working together this year. I'm very happy. For sure, Graves, Kawasaki, all my team, all my family, all the people to support me. It's time to continue like that. I try to improve tomorrow a little bit and feel better and push more for tomorrow. So thanks to HGC, Vircos, Alpine Star, Frey Shalin for everything, and see you tomorrow.
Congratulations, Richie Escalante, today's race winner, guys.
All right, Richie Escalante's dad is here, Jason, first time all season, so maybe dad's going to be the key to victory in this one.
A little bit of extra motivation having dad there. I saw him out watching Richie in practice yesterday, so really good result. Let's get down to Jamie.
And for the time, Dillon Kelly is not our race winner. You second today, maintaining those championship points lead, though. You sat behind him for only the last 2 laps. What were you able to pick up on that will help you for race 2 tomorrow?
Yeah, that was definitely a great race. I mean, we have to be happy to be fighting like this, at this stage in the championship and this point in the season. Really important, Definitely, I'm kind of happy for Richie. Honestly, we switched roles this season, so I know what it feels like to go a while without a win. And honestly, it was a good race. We had, and honestly, he got in front. Obviously, I wasn't able to see, where he was stronger than me throughout the race, so I just tried to stay as close as I can, and I tried to prepare it past. I cut the curb just a little bit too much, and I actually went over it and had a moment. So I think I lost my chances for the last corners there to fight, but it's okay, man. We're here fighting for the championship right now, and to be that close right now to Richie is super important. So we have some homework to do. I know a few things that we can improve for tomorrow, and not only on the bike but on myself. So like always, we're going to keep on working. Huge thank you to my M4 XR Suzuki team. Thank you everyone here for the huge support. Love seeing all these fans. My family, Mike for keeping me strong always. My girlfriend, everyone watching back at home, my sister, my family, everyone just supporting me. Thank you to Fred for keeping me strong, Orai, and the whole team. Thank you guys.
Second place, Greg.
Yeah, and you know what, Jason, I mean, you look at it, and it's 5 points lost for Sean Dillon Kelly, which takes his championship lead down to 56.
Yeah.
But it's still 56 with 5 to go.
It's 56, and the thing is he's going to go back and watch this race tonight to find out where he could be a little bit better against Richie, because he didn't get to follow him. And we've seen him make that last lap pass before on Bobby Fong back a couple years ago. Let's get down to Hannah.
Third place today goes to Rocco Landers, his second podium in a row and third of the season. Rocco, we saw you early on in the race in that battle for third. You were at the back of that pack. How were you able to make your way forward? What gave you the confidence to make those passes?
Yeah, once I got going mid-race or so, I got a crappy start, but hopefully that'll be better tomorrow. I was hoping that maybe pick up on where I was at Brainerd and leave the first lap, but whatever. Tomorrow's better, and I mean, it was a great race. I had a lot of fun. It was, I mean, once I got by him, I felt like I could actually put my pace down, because once when I was behind them, I was losing. I felt like I was losing a lot coming out of the corners, and once I got by, I could actually throw my pace to the S's, and I think that's what helped me get third. But I could have done without my sponsors: HJC, Mythos, Ken's here, Chris with HJC's here, Tom Halverson, Yamaha, Landers Racing, my mom, my dad, my whole team. My beast worked pretty good today. We're gonna make it work better tomorrow.
Congratulations, Rocco Landers, guys.
Well, he said it, that he is really fast in that section from 6 through 10 or 12, actually, Greg. So when you look at the speed that he carried through there, again, he's going to go back and look and see where he can try to improve a little bit. I think if Rocco gets a better start and he can see those leaders a little bit longer, that's going to help him a lot.
All right, more coming at you from Pit Race on the other side of this break, so don't go anywhere.
Follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and now TikTok as well.
As we look at Richie Escalante fist bumping the whole family and everybody out there, and do the awards presentation. Roger and Robbie here with you. And Raj, you noticed something in one of those slow-mos when Sean got back by Richie. Did you see a little contact even, right?
Yeah, it looked like whenever Sean made that pass into turn one, his pipe actually hit Richie's elbow a little bit. So it's so cool to see those two be able to pass like that, make those close passes, and understand what's on the line. And neither one of them ever complain about it. And I think that's why we, as as announcers, but really fans of the sport, just love watching those two go at it.
Last year it wasn't that way. I mean, we saw more wins by Richie, but we saw a lot of reasons why I didn't win. Here's the deal. Sometimes he just. It's your day, and today it was Richie Escalante's day. I think both of them were equally as fast. Richie just had a little more there at the end. I noticed one more thing when we got our stuff from Dunlop was the tire designation. It looks like Sean Dillon Kelly chose the super soft front and the soft rear, where Richie Escalante had the extra soft front and the soft rear. So it's two different tires to get the result they had.
Yeah, and it's with the tires like that, it's just whatever makes you comfortable, especially on the front. Whatever gives you that feel. We've heard guys talking about front chatter this weekend here at this track. So I'm sure whatever tire they chose, one of them would give the guy a little better feeling in his hands going through the S's, turn 7 to turn 12, where a lot of guys were really struggling with that front chatter. But it's cool to see Richie Escalante and his team. They've been working really hard, and like Sean said, he knows what it's like, to be chasing somebody for that long like he was last year, and what it means to get that win.
See Michael Hill down there, but you also see Chris Ulrich, who Rich Escalante is talking. Last year it was a lot of complaints. The Kawasaki, it's got an extra however many cc's. It seemed like there was animosity between them. Now it's not. Now it seems like mutual admiration, and who they can race each other and not make those excuses. It's refreshing to actually see stuff like that. Rocco, he had a 3-4-way battle in there, and you saw Lockoff. I mean, we've got some young talent ready to give these guys. It is hard to think that Lockoff and Sean Dillon Kelly are the same age. They're only 19 years old.
And, I mean, just with the success that they've had already so early in their career, you forget how young they are, especially Sean Dillon Kelly's won already so many Supersport races. So, it's looking good for the MotoAmerica series. We got a lot of young talent coming up, and we got a bright future. And I enjoy watching it. And Rocco's right. I've actually been pretty hard on him, to him about his starts.
Yeah.
And so I know he's working on it. But now I'm glad he sees it. He knows what it means to get the bad start and how he needs to get a good start. And tomorrow, if he gets a good one, the biggest thing he needs, even if he gets third again tomorrow, he needs to get up there and learn with these guys.
Yeah.
See what they're doing different. Push him that little extra bit, and keep making those steps.
He's a kid that through the years we saw him in juniors and twins. He's not used to being third and beyond. He's used to being 1 and 2. Either way, he knows he should be up front. He was up front, taking a podium again. Rocco Landers. Send it back to the guys next door.
Race results for Supersport race number 1 here from Pittsburgh International Race Complex. Show 1/10 of a second margin of victory for Escalante over SDK. Rocco Landers, Ben Smith, Sam Lockoff, Stefano Mesa, Jay. They were pretty close there for a long time, so a lot of work going to be done for these riders.
Yeah, these guys definitely want to get closer than 20 seconds. But looking at this race today and seeing how Escalante kind of watched what Escalante was doing with SDK for the majority of that race, planning his move, kind of made me sad that we saw him fall off at Brainerd in that second round to tighten up this championship. It's the first time we've seen Sean Dillon Kelly talk about the championship all year, and now he's a little bit in championship mode. Yeah,
so the points, we're going to talk about those in a minute, but, looking back at Brainerd, you could say, you can make the argument like, man, if Richie actually won it, it's going to be a lot different in the shift. But looking at this race, Jason, it was so well calculated and played by Richie Escalante.
Yeah, and I think that, he was able to spend the majority of that race watching what SDK did, and they've raced each other so many times that they know each other's idiosyncrasies like the back of their hands now. This battle for third was going on all race long between these 4 guys, between Benjamin Smith, Lockoff, Mesa, and Rocco Landers. You can see it switched back and forth. Here you go with Lockoff going up underneath Benjamin Smith. A little bit later, you see Mesa getting up underneath Benjamin Smith. All the while, the number 97 of Rocco Landers was kind of sitting back there, and you can see he made a big pass, only to get repassed by the 88 of Benjamin Smith as they battled literally throughout this race. Once Rocco was able to get to the front of that group, though, he started to pull away. But up in the front, this was the first stab at it for Escalante. He made him a small mistake in the last corner, which allowed SDK to do something with him in turn 1. Then they got back over here, Greg, to another very tricky section, turn 12. He was able to make that pass and lead that last lap. SDK will go home tonight, and he'll watch the TV back. He'll be able to see some of the things that Escalante was doing, and it'll help him for tomorrow's race.
So here's a look at the points. It was 61 coming in now at 56, so SDK only gave away 5 points on that one. No big dramas in an 18-race season. That was race number 13, so we have 5 to go. So good battle at the top of this championship as Escalante trying to hold on to that number 1 plate. But Sean Dillon Kelly is poised to grab it from him. Well, that'll do it for Supersport race number 1. We certainly hope you enjoyed the coverage. What a great race it was up front and the battle for third. We're going to get to do it again tomorrow. So for Hannah, Jamie, and Jason, I'm Greg. Thanks so much for checking out our coverage of MotoAmerica Supersport from Pittsburgh International Race Complex. See you tomorrow.